continuing with the 18th Shir, part 3, האהבה הלאומית של Rabbi Akiva, the national love of Rabbi Akiva. Alongside with Rabbi Akiva's natural love, that love of one human for another, man to wife, wife to man, husband, there is also the האהבה הלאומית הנאורה, the burning national love. The greatest national event in Rabbi Akiva's lifetime was the Bar Kokhba revolt. It was the last national stand against Rome, and it was the last national movement of Kaliv until modern times. Rabbi Akiva lived through the Bar Kokhba revolt, and he saw the various challenges that were facing the Jewish people, the difficulties that they had. As it says in the Psikettah of Kehunah, הרבה ציערה אותנו, there are much pain and suffering the Romans gave us. והרסה מקדשנו, they destroyed our sanctuary. Harna as Chachmenu, they kidnapped our sages. Shi'abda osanu, they enslaved us. Akhla Yegi, they ate up whatever we worked to create. Rabbi Akiva could not come to accept the national insult, the national treading down of the Jewish people. And Rabbi Akiva becomes, in the words of the Rambam, Rabbi Akiva nושא כליו של בר כוזיבא. Rabbi Akiva was the arms bearer of bar כוזיבא, המלך, the king. והוא אומר עליו שהוא המלך המשיח. And he said about him, about bar kokhba, he was Mashiach. It appears that the words of the Rambam are based upon that which is in the Talmud Yerushalmi in Tanis. Rabbi Akiva hayadorish. Rabbi Akiva would darshan. Darach kochav miyakov. A star treads out of Yaakov. Darach kozibah miyakov. Kozibah walked out of Yaakov. Zay melech HaMashiach. That this is melech HaMashiach. Rabbi Akiva is identifying, is pointing at Bar Kokhba as melech HaMashiach. The intent of the Rambam cannot be that Rabbi Akiva was actually the one that carried the weapons of Bar Kokhba in the war. Rabbi Akiva was an old man at this point. He's very old. I mean, according to our Masorah, he lived 120 years. There are a whole series of Chachamim that are supposedly lived 120 years. It's clearly that the Gemara is saying these people are so old, we have no idea how old they are anymore. But he was very old when he died, at the end or a year or two after the Bar Kokhba revolt. So the Bar Kokhba revolt lasted for 3.5 years. It's not conceivable at that point in his life that he was physically on the battlefield. But it was that he was the spiritual force behind the Bar Kokhba revolt. We know that Rabbi Akiva was the Gadol Hador. After his Rebbes passed away, Rabbi Akiva was the greatest one in the generation. Rabbi Akiva v'chavero halach Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva outweighs any other sage in his time, right? So we see that Rabbi Akiva's national love is that he cannot stand the pain of how much Israel is being pursued and oppressed, how much they are brought down and trampled and chewed upon, right? It would not allow Rabbi Akiva to rest. He could not lock himself up within the Dalet Amos of the Beis Medrash, right? He identified with Bar Kokhba's potential to redeem Israel. And therefore, he completely gave himself over to supporting the revolt against Rome. The sources that we have are very few about Bar Kokhba and his revolt. We know very little. But there are things that are told that we can connect to this time. The Gemara in Brachos tells the following story that's very famous. V'kentana mishmei de Rabbi Akiva la'olam yedam ragel lomar kol da avid rachmana latav avid. That we are taught in the name of Rabbi Akiva that one should always say, whatever the Holy One does, the All Merciful One does, he does for the good. Ki had Rabbi Akiva haya kazil ba'orchei. Once Rabbi Akiva was traveling. Mata lehu masa. He came to a place. Boy yushpiza lo yahifle. He's looking for a place to say. No one would give it to him. No one would let him stay by them. Amar kol da'avid rachmana l'tav. Everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did, he did for the good. Azel uba as bedabra. He went and he sat and camped in the fields outside. Fave bahada tarnagola v'chamra v'shragan. He had three things with him: a rooster, a donkey, and a light. Azazika v'kave l'shraga. A wind came and put out his candle, so he couldn't learn. Asa shunra akhla l'tarnagola. A cat came and ate his rooster. Asa aryeh akhla l'chamra. A lion came and ate his donkey. Amar, Rabbi Akiva said, Kol da'avid rachman l'tav. Everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did, he did for the good. Be belaylia asa gaisa. In the night, a Roman contingent came. Shavya lamasa. They took the entire village as captives. Amar lehu. He said to them, Lav amre lehu kol maseh to Kodesh Baruch Hu hakol latova. Didn't I tell you everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does for the good? Now, as you go through the story, there are many questions that we have to be confused about and wonder about. Rabbi Akiva is the Gadol Hador. He comes to the city and no one's going to give him a place to sleep. This is like, normally when a Gadol Hador comes to the city, everyone is in competition of where he's going to sleep. We're not going to give you a place to stay. Mm-hmm. So the logical conclusion is that this took place during the time of the Bar Kokhba revolt. The Romans were chasing Bar Kokhba, were chasing Rabbi Akiva because they knew that he was the primary spiritual, moral backing of Bar Kokhba. They could get him, they could get other people. If you go back slightly before our time, during the time of the British Mandate, they put up posters with descriptions of all the members of Etzel and Lehi, the Irgun and the Stern Gang, with the descriptions, pictures if they had them, whatever they had, with the various rewards that they would have for capturing these people. One can assume that the Romans also had a well-known wanted list with descriptions of who they were looking for. And obviously, Rabbi Akiva was clearly on the 10 most wanted list. Therefore, we can understand why the people didn't want to give him a place to sleep. You give him a place to sleep and you're caught, this is an instant death sentence, right? This is not good. So he's forced to sleep outside. And what happens? The candles blows out so the Romans don't see him. The rooster is killed so it doesn't crow in the morning and the Romans find him. The donkey would have brayed, given him away. None of this happened. We know that there's a famous story in the Haggadah of Pesach. Maaseh b'Rebbe Eliezer, and once it happened with Rebbe Eliezer, v'Rebbe Yoshua, v'Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah, v'Rebbe Akiva, v'Rebbe Tarfon, Shayim Mesubim b'Bnei Brak. They were all having their Seder together in Bnei Brak. Vayu Mesaprim b'Yitzias Mitzrayim kolos halayla. They were talking about Yitzias Mitzrayim that entire night. Ad shebao talmidehum v'amru lehem Rabbeinu higiaz man kriyas shel shacharis. till the Talmidim came and said, it's time to say Kriya Shema in the morning. Now, this story also has a number of questions that you should ask. First of all these Chachamim, if you look in the Gemara in Sanhedrin, that Lamed Beis, on base, you will see that all of these people lived in different places. Rabbi Akiva lived in Bnei Brak, but he was the only one who lived in Bnei Brak. Everyone else lived in other places. What were they doing with Rabbi Akiva? And normally, when a gadol is doing something, there are talmidim around him. You get 5 of the Gedolei Hador having Seder together, and none of their talmidim are there. Their talmidim are outside, and they're locked up. They don't know that the time for Kriya Shema has come. They're in a cellar someplace. So, all the more so, by the way, we should ask, what was Rabbi Eliezer doing here? Because the Gemara says in Sukkah, Tana Rabbanan, Maseh Rabbi Eli, Shahalach lahakbil panei Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbo beregel, belod beregel. That Rabbi Eliezer lived in Lod, and Rabbi Eli, his Talmud, goes to greet his Rebbe in Lod on Yom Tov. And we know there's a mitzvah to go see a Rebbe on Yom Tov. Amar lo, Eli. Rabbi Eliezer said to Rabbi Eli, Eincha mashov say haregel, you're not one of those people that rests on regel? Shai Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Eliezer said, Mishbeach ani esatzlanim she'ein yotzim mibeisam beregel. As it says, the kasiv v'samachta tavlisach. It says, you will rejoice in your house. Meaning, I praise the ones that are lazy and don't leave their houses on sukkahs, because the whole idea of sukkahs, you're supposed to say the whole sukkah in your own sukkah. According to Rabbi Eliezer, by the way, it's machlokes with the chachamim. He says you're not yotzi in someone else's sukkah. You're only yotzi with the mitzvah of sukkahs, being in your own sukkah. Just like you need your own lulav, you need your own sukkah. Chachamim disagree and says, Kol Ezrach Yisrael Yeshu b'sukkos. All of the citizens of Israel can sit in one sukkah. Anyway, it's a disagreement between them. But he's saying to his Talmud, what are you about? Why are you leaving your place on Yom Tov? You should stay at home on Yom Tov. Shouldn't go visiting people on Yom Tov. So what is going on here? Rabbi Abe Akoin Maimon, who signed Israel's Declaration of Independence, was minister in its first government, was the first Secretary General of the Mizrahi movement, has an essay, Hamisibab B'nei Brak, that is in his Sefer Chagim U'Moadim, one of the approximately 70 Sfarim he wrote, where he says that this meeting was at the beginning, or just before the beginning of the Bar Kokhba revolt. And the Chachamim were there to discuss whether there should be a revolt or not. So they were sealed. They didn't want any Romans looking through the windows. Everything was sealed and locked up as they went through these discussions. And that is why they had to be sealed up. And Rabbi Akiva is the one that leads the other Chachamim to say that we cannot accept the allowing Kaliv Yisrael to be downtrodden in its own land in this way. And therefore, we must stand up for our nation. In the end, Rabbi Akiva paid the price. He was killed in an absolutely cruel, more than cruel way. And he was clearly aware of the possibility of paying this price, but he understood what was necessary for the honor of the Jewish people, and that is the second one of Rabbi Akiva's loves. We will discuss next time whether nationality is a kind of racism or not. And everyone should have a wonderful day.